This episode is brought to you by Vital Farms. Isn't it bullshit to have to question where your food comes from? At Vital Farms, you can trace your pasture-raised eggs all the way back to the source, the pasture. On the side of each pasture-raised carton of eggs, you'll find the name of the farm where your eggs were laid. And when you look the farm up on their website, you'll get a peek at all the sunshine, fresh air, and open space the hens enjoy. Learn more and find out where to buy them at vitalfarms.com. Vital Farms, keeping it bullshit-free.
Reboot your credit card with Apple Card, the credit card created by Apple. It gives you unlimited daily cash back that you can now choose to grow in a high-yield savings account that's built right into the Wallet app. Apply for Apple Card now in the Wallet app on iPhone and start growing your daily cash with savings today. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility requirements. Savings accounts provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC. Terms apply.
It's time to say goodbye to hold music and say hello to fast customer support with Service Cloud. With trusted AI and data working together, you can skip long wait times and deliver efficient, personalized service right away, all while keeping support costs low and more customers happy. Reimagine your customer support with the #1 AI CRM for service. Learn what's possible at salesforce.com/products/service.
This episode is brought to you by Klaviyo, the platform that powers smarter digital relationships. With Klaviyo, you can activate all your customer data in real time, connect seamlessly with your customers across all channels, guide your marketing strategy with AI-powered insights, recommendations, and automated assistance. Deliver experiences that feel individually designed at scale and grow your business faster. Power smarter digital relationships with Klaviyo. Learn more at klaviyo.com/Spotify. That's KLAVIYO.com/Spotify.
I'm Jason Palmer, one of the hosts of The Intelligence, The Economist's daily current affairs podcast. The Economist's award-winning shows make sense of what matters, from our special series on China's president to our weekly podcasts on business, technology, and American politics. Our journalists provide fair, in-depth reporting on the events shaping the world. Search for Economist Podcasts Plus and sign up to our free 1-month trial.
Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts. Welcome to the podcast. In this podcast episode, I talk with Joann Wortham about how to mobilize the creativity and productivity that diverse teams can offer. Joann Wortham, welcome to the conversation today.
Thanks so much, John. I'm so happy to be here.
It is a pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from the LA area. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. And today we're going to be talking about how to mobilize the creativity and productivity that diverse teams can offer. I love talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I love talking about creativity and productivity. So anytime we can bring the two together, I think that's a fantastic dialogue to have. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you today. As we get started, I wanted to share Joann's bio with everybody. Joann Wortham is a seasoned international thought leader who uses insight from lived experiences along with her background in education, healthcare, business, and risk management to create novel approaches to today's most critical workplace concerns. With over 20 years of experience, as well as a Master of Science in Nursing Education and a Juris Doctorate, she has presented and consulted for such prestigious groups as the Institute of Healthcare Improvement and Yale Health. She was also a consultant and contributor for the American Society of Healthcare Risk Management Human Capital Playbook. And there's many more accolades and things I could share about you, but I'm going to pause there. Anything else you would like to highlight by way of your background, personal context, before we dive on into the conversation?
Yeah, thanks so much, John. I actually wrote a book, EDI is the New Black, Lead the Market with Diverse Teams. And this work really is my life's work. if I can say it like that, with really bringing to the marketplace what diversity, equity, and inclusion can do for companies and corporations, and how they can really better use the tenets of equity, diversity, and inclusion for really pushing their companies forward and making it a healthy workplace for all their employees.
Yeah, and really at the root of all of this, anytime we're talking about these sorts of topics, I think it is important for everyone listening to recognize and see themselves in the conversation, that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is for everybody. When we create a more healthy workplace, that improves the lives and the working conditions of everybody. So sometimes, you'll have some individuals who might say, why are we focusing so much on this? What, there may be a white guy who says, well, what about me? Where am I in this conversation? And one, we need allies, so that's important. But two, it literally is for you, because it's for everybody. When we treat people well, when we treat people with dignity and respect, when we create healthy workplaces with psychological safety, where everyone can bring their whole authentic self to the workplace, that makes for just a better environment for everyone to thrive. And that's really what we're going for. We're just looking to treat everyone with dignity and respect. So on the outset, I just wanted to make that kind of a statement. Now, as we move in to talk about diverse teams, we're going to get into the creativity and productivity piece here. And hopefully it's really obvious, and maybe it's a bit repetitive, but maybe you could outline for us some of those distinct benefits and values that come from diverse teams in comparison to more homogeneous types of teams.
Right. And the real thought there, John, would be the more diverse folks that you have in your team, the more diverse the ideas will be, mm-hmm. right? The more diverse the approach to the work will be, right? And so I love what Bernstein said. He's an author and analyst, and he was talking about how when you have a homogeneous team, then you have homogeneous ideas.
Yeah.
And oftentimes with the startups that you're seeing now, I guess mostly I'll call them young people because I feel like I'm a little bit old right now, but younger people, you'll see that they're looking for diversity, not just in race, but also in gender, right? Looking for different cultural experiences to bring to their products and to bring to the way that they actually are going out to move in the community to sell their products. They're really looking for these diverse ways of doing things. And they're seeing that they make more money when they're more inclusive. And I know you remember this, and being a Black woman, I can tell you this, for some times, and this is so obvious, so to speak, to me, but let's just say you're selling stockings. You don't wear stockings, John, but I'm just saying. You're selling stockings. For a long time, I couldn't get any that were my color, the color of my skin, right?
Yeah.
And so it left this gap in the market because you were selling something for the majority and excluding minorities, right? And so in so doing, you were losing money. And it presented this gap in the market that other companies came in and filled that gap because there was no diversity. Let's even say for makeup. There was no diversity. So you had these companies coming in and filling those gaps. So today, you're seeing that all of these companies are looking at, wait a minute, right now, and I think this was in Times Magazine, they were talking about how minorities are growing here in the United States and across the world or what have you, and citing that if companies didn't move in that direction to be more inclusive of everyone, that they were going to be the losers. They were not going to be able to lead the market with only serving one part of the population, whatever part that might be. And so the innovation, to answer your question, the innovation, bringing cultural concepts into how you make your product, but then also how you market your product. Companies are seeing that really diversity pays.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you brought up those specific examples. Now, it's not something I even think about. Yeah, I don't wear stockings. I don't wear makeup. Right. But I've heard this from my wife. and I'm married to a Caucasian woman. And so, she hasn't had that particular issue, but she's pretty mindful about this kind of stuff. And, she's been very careful about cruelty-free makeup and those sorts of things. And so over time, she shared some of this with me. And frankly, I was shocked. I'm like, on the one hand, I was shocked. On the other hand, it wasn't surprising at all, but unfortunately, but I was shocked. I'm like, how in the world do we not have a much wider range of like makeup palette colors, right? For people of all different backgrounds and races. Why wouldn't we have that? That just seemed crazy to me. And yet it's only been my understanding is it's only been quite recently that has improved quite a bit. Is that right?
Very, very recent. You even see in terms of John, you see how the shapes of women, the shapes of men that we use in commercials. Have you noticed that has changed? Like not just doing skinny, so to speak, pristine, and this kind of, they're just showing a whole barrage of different people. You know why? Those are consumers. Those are consumers. And everybody doesn't look like a model. And everybody does. And so you have to show, how is your product used for these other folks? You see them looking at gender diversity. You see this in our commercials right now. So some companies are waking up. And I always say this, you don't want to make a product for a Black person, but the issue is money is green. People at large size, small size, or what have you, everybody doesn't look alike. Thank goodness. Wouldn't that be a dull world?
That would be a dull world.
That would be so dull. People don't look, you look at the Latinx community, they were having the same problem. They were having the same problem, that different products weren't made for them. And so I think some companies, not all, but some companies are waking up and seeing that we have this whole world, right? And here's the thing. We're not just talking about the United States of America. We're talking about this whole world that you could be selling to, this whole community, world community, right? And so for your companies and corporations that are looking at this as a worldwide community, you're going to find out they're doing better.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of crazy to think that you wouldn't be doing that, regardless of, even thinking about race equity, racial gender issues or diversity, equity, and inclusion, like just from a pure like dollars and cents, bottom line perspective, you'd think, of course, why wouldn't you be creating makeup lines that work for everybody so you have a bigger market, right? So it is crazy that it's only been recently, like within the last couple of years, is my understanding, that's become more of a common thing. And like you said, just the representation in media and commercials and such, for different body types and different gender expressions and all sorts of things, that has changed quite a bit just recently. So, I think it's worth making a really important point here, that for the business case for diversity, equity, and inclusion is incredibly strong. The pure dollars and cents of it just makes all the sense in the world that you would do this. That's not even getting to what I think is the bigger and more important conversation, and that is around the human case of like, we just need to like treat people well, treat people with dignity and respect. And of course, we want to give everyone a fair shake in the marketplace and in the workplace, and it's just the right thing to do. Right. But even if you can't get there, or even if that's a hard argument to get your C-suite executives to kind of buy into, man, just make the business case, because it's clear that you're going to have a bigger market. You're going to sell more stuff, more products and services. And the other aspect that you started to talk about and gave a couple examples of that I want to highlight too is just the creativity piece. Like when you get people from different backgrounds, and it doesn't need to just be gender or race, ethnicity, some of the more kind of visual, obvious types of diversity, but just cultural differences, socioeconomic differences. You come from different upbringings, different values, different perspectives. You have different lenses through which you see the world. And when you have teams like that can come to the table and have meaningful conversations and push back on each other, you're going to get better ideas. You're going to get better products and services that are going to meet the needs of the marketplace better. You're just going to have better stuff. And so it just makes all the sense in the world that we would try to do everything we can to make sure we have really healthy, safe, dynamic, diverse, and inclusive teams.
For the most part, John, if you look at what we have done in the past, it really was more of us looking at the moral, part of it. Companies saying, well, we just need to get more, and I call this counting. We just needed to get more numbers of women, numbers of Latinas, numbers of Black. And so we counted how many we had, but we weren't really using the actual value of those people in producing products and services. We were just trying to make them more, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but we were counting, okay? We were counting, trying to make sure that the numbers were right. We moved from that over to what I call niche, meaning that some companies said, oh my gosh, I need to hire a Black person so they can be over the Black, communities and Black products so that we can get out there, and actually compete. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But when you look at this new model of the learning organization, that's really where you want to head. You want to know how these people, and that would be the ones that you were explaining here, maybe they're from a different part of the country. Maybe they have a different cultural. How do they do the work? How is the work done differently? How can we learn from them, become a learning organization in terms of equity, diversity, and inclusion? And really, I'm not saying anything is wrong with the moral end of it. Of course, we should do the right thing, right? I don't see anything wrong with that. But I don't think, so to speak, we're squeezing all the juice out of our orange. We're just looking at numbers, or we're just looking at niche markets, when we really should be looking at how these folks can teach us how to do the work differently, a lot of times even more efficiently. How can this work be done? How can this product be made better? Looking at it from this cultural perspective, or where they're from, their lived experiences. Nothing like a lived experience to say, this is how this should be done. And a lot of different products, there's several products that I use right now, which really comes from lived experiences. They have several different. Why do I keep going back to stockings? I don't know why, John, but you're gonna have to go back with stockings. But there are different things that women experience as a whole, or about our bodies, or what have you. And you'll see that there's different products out there now that women thought of because of something that had happened in their life, and they were like, you know what? We need to make Spanx. I know you don't know what Spanx are, but anyway, actually,
I do.
What? You know what Spanx?
I know what they are. Yeah.
Right. But when you hear her story, when you hear this inventor's story, she talks about some things that were happening in her life and how she sought to make that better by creating this product. And so a lot of times I think we leave that out of equity, diversity, and inclusion when we're looking at that. A lot of times you'll see, and this is happening in terms of the makeup industry, clothing industry. I just saw the one where the man was saying he didn't want to tuck in his shirt. So he made a new shirt that doesn't need to be tucked or what have you. All these ideas coming from women, men, other gender identities or what have you, race, ethnicity. We're creating new products. We're creating a new world that better fits who we are right now, different expressions of the human experience. But you'll lose all of that if you're just looking at, I want to hire this particular group. And I'm talking about for companies who only hire Blacks, or companies who are only hiring Latinas, companies who only are hiring whites. I'm saying if you broaden the way that you look at things, even in terms of men and women, if you broaden, you already know this, John, is that if you have women on your board, they're known to make better decisions, right? So I'm saying that if we look at it from the perspective of making the environment better for the people who are working there, we spend 1/3 of our lives at work.
At least,
so,
right?
At least. I think I spend more, but at least. But I'm saying if we're really looking at these metrics, if we're really looking at where we're headed, we'll know that equity, diversity, and inclusion is not something, because right now I'm telling you, and I know you know this, John, our country here in the United States, very divided, very divided. And a lot of people believe that we talk too much about equity, diversity, and inclusion. When I go out to speak, the first thing that I talk to them about is we're not talking about it in terms of trying to change what you think about any particular thing. What we're talking about is what's going on within this company, what's going on with the work. And I'm here to talk to you about how you can make it better. Now, what you do at your home, that's up to you. But when we're talking about what is going on in the work environment, I want to talk to you about how you can make it better in terms of making it better for people, in terms of a healthy environment to work in, but then also making it better in terms of how you can progress with your company, how you can move forward, how you can make more money, that type of thing. They're shocked by that because I think when I show up, they think I'm going to browbeat them about how they should think about race and culture. But that's not what I do as a consultant. I'm coming in to talk to you about how to make your work environment better and your business better. Now, in terms of, biases and what have you, I really talk about how that's affecting the work and how that is affecting you, right? Yeah. While you're at work, right? And how you can get the best out of your employees by assisting with not having, microaggressions and different types of biases, doing what you can to decrease bias, because we all have bias, doing what you can to decrease that. I'm talking about how to affect the work environment and how to affect the work.
Yeah. Well, you're right. We're an incredibly divided country, politically, socially, economically, and very polarized. And so these types of conversations can be tough, in part because it's become increasingly politicized to talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion. Unfortunately, in my mind, it's not a political issue at all. It's just a human issue. It's just it's a business issue, a human issue. It's just how do we treat each other well? And my belief is that most people want to be treated well and want to treat others well. I don't think most people wake up in the morning thinking, how am I going to be a racist bigot today? Most people,
the same thing, John.
Most people want to do right by others. And we all have our conditioning. We all have our own upbringings and background. We all have our lenses through which we see the world. We don't need to complicate an already complicated set of conversations by making this political in a really polarized, divided environment. So I think that is a really important thing. So people don't feel defensive immediately, when you're trying to have just open conversations about something that is about how we treat each other well and how we leverage the unique talents and insights of different people. Because everyone wants to be effective at work. Everyone wants to have a good company and everyone wants to do good stuff and cool things and provide good things to the community. And so this is one of those ways that we can really do that. I want to take the rest of our time to really dive into this idea of mobilizing people through diverse teams, mobilizing that creativity and productivity. What do you see as some of the best strategies, approaches, tactics to unlock that mobilization piece? Because it has been my experience that many people are just really nervous about even entering this space to have these types of conversations, let alone start to make changes to policies, practices, procedures that might systematically change things and, in my mind, improve things for the better for them and for the teams. How do you start that process to mobilize the creativity and productivity of diverse teams?
Well, it's all about community. And so one thing that I teach and one thing that I believe very much in is that if people believe that they belong to a community, they will protect each other. And one of the things that I work with is, who do we have in our community? What type? And this has been my experience on teams that I work on. We have various differences and what have you in our teams, but I notice, and even more so now, that if we think that a team member has been treated poorly or badly or what have you, because they are a part of the community, you'll see those community folks sticking up for them. So when you don't have a sense of belonging and you don't have a sense of community, then you'll see kind of everybody going to their corner. So mostly I'm promoting becoming a part of a community and making that community responsible for itself. It starts at the bottom and then goes all the way up to the top. And so how can we do this? So one thing, and I'm always talking about this, is the issue about authenticity. Yep. Letting people be who they are at work. How can we support that? Some of the things that we have done in the past, let's talk about our Asian colleagues. You'll see, and I always wondered about this, John. I was wondering how one of my Asian colleagues was called Sally, because I knew that that wasn't an Asian name. She talked to me about angelicizing and how that they would get somebody to kind of read you their name so that they could be accepted. I didn't even know that that came from like colonial times. When they wanted to work in the Englishman's house, they had to change their name to a more English name. We see that now, John, in terms of code switching with African Americans. You know, there's a what we call professionalism, which is really based on a white ideal, right? Yep. And then you whiten your name. So if my name is Tamika and it's Tamika Nicole, I don't put Tamika on it. I just put Nicole and put my last name and whiten my name so that I can get that interview or I can get in there. And then I have people calling me Nicole. So what psychologists say about that, though, is you're actually taking away from the authenticity of that person. Now, this is the person that we want in our community. And when we want these people in our community, we want them to be their authentic selves, because it has been proven over and over and over again. That's where the innovation comes from. That's where the creativity comes from. So if you want to mobilize creativity and you want to mobilize the innovation of your product and your services, you want people to come to work as their authentic selves. So if they're wearing dreadlocks, I assure you that's not going to affect their brain. That does not affect your brain at all. And professionalism, we're going to have to really look at that another way. Is it, and you can look through the years, John, professionalism has changed. Used to be, men at work and women were at home. Used to be you had to wear a suit. Now they're saying you can come in, basically casual. I mean, this has changed over the years. This is not a set of rules. And I think that when we don't allow people to be their authentic selves at work, we run into this obstacle of really mobilizing the creativity and innovation that they can bring to the table because they're too busy pretending to be someone else. So it
takes a lot of mental bandwidth to do that.
Oh my gosh. Just the code switching. And I'll tell you this, John, and I'm fine with it. And people laugh. And I think that's one of the reasons why I, get my, kind of get invited back, is because I just tell them what happened to me. I had my white girl voice. And if I'm on the phone, I would do my white girl voice. But when I'm talking to people off the phone, or I'm talking to some of my colleagues or some of my Black friends, then I could be myself and I talked a whole different way. And I would code switch back and forth. It's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. And because I was trying to be someone else, and I talk about that in my book, I found out that I was really just trying to be someone else and trying to fit into this mold where I actually didn't fit. And I was exhausted. Yeah. So just so exhausted about it. Left quite a few jobs and positions because of sheer exhaustion. And I really wanted to just be myself and be accepted as myself. So if you want to really mobilize innovation and creativity, try to rethink what you are thinking about what professionalism is. Is that the way people dress? Is that the way that their hair is braided or not braided? I mean, now if you have a reason for doing it, Jonathan, like if you're in you're in service and you're serving food or what have you, and you have to wear your hair back. I'm a nurse. And if I'm on the floor, I would wear my hair back because that's an infection control thing. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about me and you talking, and then you thinking that I'm not professional because my hair is naturally curly, right? So, and do you think that's ridiculous, John? Because that doesn't have anything to do with your brain.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I witness it. Again, I'm a straight cisgender white dude. So I don't live this myself, but I witness it and I see how others experience it. And to hear you, express these things, it sounds exhausting. It sounds like it would just take half of your mental and physical energy to just do that. And then you don't, like, what do you have left?
What do you have left, John? What do you
For all
have
the
left?
innovative stuff that you want to do.
Right. And
Well,
so you'll see those companies that's why
yeah.
Google, everybody's like, Google's just, because they let those guys, they're skateboarding, they're coming in. They tell them to come to work when they feel as though they would be most productive. I'm just like,
Yep.
What is that? But I'm saying really following your employees and letting them know that they can be their authentic selves, that really will mobilize creativity and innovation. If you just give it a try. Give it a try.
I love it, Joann. This has just been a great conversation. I note the time I need to let you go, but before we wrap things up, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, where they can find your book, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Sure. So I am on LinkedIn, and it's just J Wortham at LinkedIn. My book has been number one within the genre on Amazon, and it is EDI is the New Black, Lead the Market with Diverse Teams. And I would hope that folks who would read it, I will assure you that this is not a book that's going to browbeat you about race. It really is talking about how we can be better, more respectful toward each other, and how we can move forward together in what we do in the workplace in terms of our services and our products. So I'm hoping that everybody will just give it a try, give it a read. And then I think my final note is, gosh, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. I hope I get to talk to you again. And just to let everybody know out there that, we are very polarized right now. And there's a lot of things that are going on that are being politicized that really don't have to be politicized at all. We're human beings, and we are evolving within this human experience. And we really do want to become the best people or humans, void of all this other stuff that's going on right now that we possibly can be. And I'm telling you, if you learn how to treat your fellow neighbor, whether in work or at home or wherever it is, when you give them the respect that they need, and they give you that respect right back, we'll find that we're living in a whole nother world that really is better for all of us.
Well said, Joann. Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, get connected, find out more about what Joann can do for you. Check out the book. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.